The classification is we try to group the phenomena according to the observations that we have. The grouping makes juxtaposition easy. And when you juxtapose something, you can easily observe why something is happening. And this juxtaposition is one of the very important tools of research. I found that all the articles from EBW for 10 years, all the articles from IJA for 10 years, and this I did in 1984, all those 74 to 84, all those things for largely these three groups. And then anybody comes, do you want to attribute a measurement? Yes. Then these are the attributional techniques as far as economic is concerned. Do you want to explain a phenomena, try to relate something to something? Yes. These are the relational techniques you try to do that. Are you trying to group something like developed region, underdeveloped region, like educated, literate? Want to group them? Use these techniques: canonical correlation, factor analysis, principal component analysis, linear discriminant analysis, etc. And then the students were really happy. When we get into the WTO and WTO related issues, one thing we have to remember, that this is something which rather began, the theme of it began immediately after the Second World War. We do not get back to that. After the Second World War, we got into, or most of the countries, developing countries, got into a particular fear psychosis. If one of us becomes powerful as far as arms are concerned, as far as military power is concerned, how will we get together? Will we get together only by aggression, by the aggressor, or we have to get together for something else? And it was thought that let the world, and all this thinking is usually done from this side, not from that side. That side we have to keep the eyes open and ears closed. Thinking has to be done from this side. So normally the people or the countries which were leading them in the World War, they thought that let me get these ships together, and they got people together to form GATT. After the GATT was formed, this was for the international trade. And if you analyze our history, international trade is one of the very important tools of colonization. Very important. Trade was used as a tool for colonization in order to extract the surpluses from the colonies in order to feed the colonial bosses. And that's where it began. It began from there. For long, the smaller countries did not have as much say. It was thought to break it, to completely dismantle it. Then again the big bosses came together, said that let us give one vote to one country. One country, one vote, and formed another organization. The draft was prepared by Arthur Duncan, and then it was circulated, it was debated. It was debated vehemently all over the world, including in India. And there were a large number of us had criticized the draft. That was the time when either it should have been signed or not signed. Either that was the time when we had chance to get out of it or get in it. The chance was lost the moment in 95 we signed. We said that we will be, and for the best reason that by 95 we had our economy in doldrums. Our economy was so bad that we had to depend on getting the foreign exchange through exports. And this compulsory dependence on the foreign exchange, for the reason that we had committed loans so much so that our debt servicing itself was taking 54% of our total budget, Indian budget, was going for debt servicing. And debt servicing, nobody accepts rupees. If you have borrowed from Russia, you have paid in the currency in which they accept it. If you have borrowed from Germany, you have paid in the currency in which they accept it. And then it was more or less compulsory. It sat onto us under the conditionalities. Some of these conditionalities were said very clearly, some of them were not said clearly, but then they were obvious. The obvious conditionality was to get into the world market in order to earn foreign exchange, and you need to open your market if you want to sell there. If you want to sell there, you have to open your market. And that was the situation in which we got it. Why did we get into the situation? 82 was the year in which we started to get into that situation. Coming to the WTO, the basic tenets of WTO are very simple. There is really nothing very great in it. There are a few basic tenets like the market access. If I sell you, you sell me.
Oh, yeah.
Now coming to the researchable issue in market access. Researchable issue in market access. The reason for market access in the WTO region was for the purpose of allowing or getting foreign exchange from the rest of the world. And market access has two components. One, we sell, we export, and we import. What has been the changes in our trade? Now with export and import, all of them will increase over time, and I'll show you after some time. All of them will increase over time, but this rate of increase is something that has to be monitored, because higher the rate of increase of both export as well as imports, then we are getting the market access as we wanted it. If the rate of increase is not so fast, then we are not exactly enjoying the market access as has been promised. In the market access, the tarification was major thing, because the access is denied out of two things. One, that you put tariff, that if at all you have to sell in my country, you have to pay this 13% of tariff or 10% of tariff. If at all I sell in your country, I will pay 10%, 15%. And this was used as levers in order to ban or in order to restrict the trade. Therefore, there was necessity to get into agreements to get at the tariff rates which are manageable by developing countries. Now, the whole research issue comes there. The tariff rates are manageable by developing countries. The entire research issue comes on that word manageable. What is the manageable tariff rate? And when you have to search, when you have to get into research of manageable tariff rates or optimal tariff rates, you have to talk about the domestic economy, domestic production, domestic producers, and the returns to the domestic market. All these are domestic producers. All these have to be considered. There the research issue has been left or abandoned. We talk about market access, but we never talk about the manageable tariff rates. We do not talk about how the tariff rates have to be levered. The second thing was non-tariff barriers. You are selling me the pen, but I would not buy any ballpoint pens from any of you. Your ballpoint pens, the moment I write on this hard surface, the next line does not come in the paper. Why? That's a quantitative restriction. I will buy maximum 20 pens from you. First one was qualitative restriction. Second, ballpoint pen I will not buy because it doesn't write. Second one is quantitative restriction. Now both the things were to be taken out because a large number of developed or developing countries were trying to use this particular thing in order to buy. Today we are in that process because our fisheries export is in little trouble. There are quite a few restrictions on our fisheries trade. Now, in order to overcome that, the next round that we will be discussing about fisheries trade, then two things came in. Number one, the minimum access, and in the market, a minimum access was provided. As I told you that till 1999, I used to talk very freely taking on Dunkel draft, saying that we need not get into international trade, we need not bother about it. Till then, I was never a student of international trade. 99 something happened and I had to read international trade. From then onwards, I started giving lectures on international trade and chaired a group which prepared impact of WTO on Karnataka's agriculture, which was followed by most of the states. The same Swaminathan had prepared it for Kerala. Swaminathan had borrowed our copy in order to prepare it for Kerala. The two important things, if market access, but how much market access? And therefore, a minimum market access was provided. 3% market access, and I have written about a chapter kind of thing on what is this 3%. Many times, we do not know why certain thing is decided. 3%. Forest area should be how much? 1/3. 30% has to be forest area. Who has said that? And where? In Hyderabad, those towns should have forest area, 30%. Where should it be? And who has decided that? Go on searching it and you will not find it. Somebody from somewhere got from the hat 30% and given it like curricle, like sheep and goat. We followed, every researcher followed it. Every damn researcher who thinks about forest and have carried this in the forest research follows it. 3% of in the FRBM Act, the fiscal deficit should not exceed 3%. Who said it? And what is 3% and above fiscal deficit? What is 3% and below fiscal deficit? What is its impact? These are researchable issues. These are researchable issues, not that whether it is 3.5% and after churning out the data across the states, you prove that fiscal deficit is 3.7%. You have done nothing. You have done nothing except a clerical work. And clerical work is not PhD. We get to the market access. 3%. I tried to argue where this 3% comes from. And after quite a bit of discussion, 3% is arrived at as an optimal level of market access given the elasticity of entry into the domestic market by a foreign market producer. There I got the point that 3% is justified. It is 3 and this side or that side. 3% is justified by that. 3 is the minimum. 3 is the minimum. Beyond that, then the market starts getting distorted. Market starts get distorted. The other thing which came into discussion is the subsidy. Subsidy came into discussion because no trade distorting measures should be taken by any of the countries involved. True. No one of the trade distorting measures, tarification is one, the non-tariff barriers is another, third one, non-tariff in the sense quantitative and qualitative barriers, sanitary and phytosanitary measures, etc. The third one came in form of subsidy. If you are trying to produce something at a price, at a cost at which the other countries cannot produce it, far below the cost of the other countries, then possibly you are subsidizing certain things. You are subsidizing electricity, you are subsidizing water, you are subsidizing this, that. The subsidies were categorized into 3 groups. First one is in the red. 4 groups. First one is red. Red subsidies are the ones which are trade distorting subsidies. And then the other 3. The green one are the ones which should be permitted because these are essential for the development and growth of any economy, and therefore these cannot be objected to. Now the box was defined with, and these are called boxes, and the colors are taken from the traffic signal. These are called boxes, and in the box a few items or the generic names of those few items are included. Generic names in the sense that those who are wearing warm clothes are going to be given scholarship. He comes to me, this is also warm, his shirt. She says, sir, this dupatta is very warm, I'll prove it. Generic is that. The moment you define generically, anything can get into it, and that was the major thing which came in, like the blue box wages. This contains the domestic subsidies, and these are the ones which have to be permitted to the underdeveloped and developing countries. Now, Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, you might have heard. Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana was formed in order to prepare, in order to enhance productivity. I don't know, you may not be knowing the bit of history of it. 59th round of NSSO, or other, in 2000 we had a mega study called Farmer and the Millennium. I was monitoring my class, and I have been selected as a monitor many times. Monitor in the sense writing the names of the people who are mischief makers in the class, and then monitor can take some advantage of it. Say, you give me pencil, otherwise I'll write your name. So, the Farmer and the Millennium, there were 27 studies which were initiated in the entire country. I was one of the coordinators, like there, so I was a coordinator for that social sciences. The 27 were different areas and people in agriculture economics. You name a person in agriculture economics and was there. All these 27 volumes were to be got done from these people who were stalwarts. Balla, Shraddha, Vijit Sen, B.V. Bhattacharya. You name a person and was involved, Ashok Gulati. You name a person and was involved in it, C.H. Chandranath Rao. After preparing those 27 volumes, it was thought that we don't have the data on the farmers, so an NSSO round was to be initiated. In the NSSO round, it was thought that one question, which I pleaded, that one question should be included, and that question was asking the farmer, do you want to continue in farming? And among us, our chairman was Professor J.S. Balla, was that time almost 78 years old. He got, and I was the youngest member, he got wild at me. मजाक कर रहे हो? अरे वो फार्मर को पूछोगे, do you want to leave the land? वो तो बेचारा इन्वेस्टिगेटर को मारेगा. Farmer loves the land like his mother. He will beat the investigator. Hey, ऐसे कुछ नहीं करते. I continued. I am a stickler. I continued. I continued on the thing. After some time, like giving a chocolate, okay, take it. He said, okay. अच्छा इसका एक question रहने दो यार. And Abhijit Sen was the person who supported me in the group. We had a question, and you know that question shook the country. 40% of the farmers said that we don't want to continue in farming. And the moment they said we don't want to continue in farming, the government shook. Initially, like we tried to find out. Like in Vimala case, first question was whether he really belonged to scheduled caste. In order to divert the whole issue, there too, the first question was whether the survey is dependable or not. From PMO's office, Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister. Whether the survey is dependable or not, a committee was formed. Committee was formed from the group, which was earlier 27 members group. And the committee said they are dependable data. Now the question came, and first time in the history of the country, a special National Development Council meeting was called, and the National Development Council wanted a particular program to increase the productivity of the lands of the farmers. This program was called Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana. The program was initiated in order to increase the productivity, but finally the program ended up in increasing the cemented buildings in agriculture universities, in many governments, etc. Number of jeeps, number of cars, number of buildings have increased. The program did not get into the earth. The thing which I was saying investment in agriculture. Now, is this investment in agriculture? What is investment in agriculture? We often, and there are, Vasant Gandhi has written a good book on gross capital formation in agriculture. If you read it, you find that the per farmer capital formation is huge. Is certainly every farmer, you take gross capital formation in agriculture, divide it by farmers, you feel that every farmer is richer than me and the professors here. Are they? Where is this capital formation taking place? There exactly researchable areas. That where this capital formation is taking place, where the money is going, and that money, I mean, that is something which is exempted. Then input support for diversification. These support systems in the agriculture sector have not been investigated, and there are a good number of grey or dark areas where one can look into. We come further to the export subsidies. We are going to discuss export subsidies. Last round we have, I'll show you briefly what is discussed in which round, because my memory is not that good, so that I'll remember every round and everything. Quickly I'll tell you. Last round we discussed about export subsidies and the export subsidies being provided even now by some of the developed countries. Now there exactly the question comes, how much and how to group these countries, how to pinpoint who are the violators of the Act, of the WTO Act. The violators can be easily located provided we look into the kind of subsidies given by various countries which exactly distorts export. And one doesn't have to be an international trade specialist in order to do this. One can be from any area, but find out that. And that's an area where we have no research. We go further. Okay, SPS, I think Sabar is not here, but on the SPS, special treatment, we had done some work along with it on fair trade, under the fair trade title. What should be the special products? What should be the special safeguard measures? Which commodities, which products have to be safeguarded and should be included in the special product? That area has fallen back, so we need not. So this is something which, for those who get interested in, what are the major points? Very simple. That it covers market access, domestic support, export competitiveness, trade-related measures of investment, then the TRIPS, NTBs, then new level of access of imports, etc. The ones which I described. Now, in this, the researchable issue is to find out where exactly are the developing countries and underdeveloped countries have been taken for granted. The second issue which comes out is what makes it difficult for the developing and underdeveloped countries to agglomerate as against developed countries. Why? Immediately a club of a Bangalore club or Mysore club is formed, and the members of the club are all those top echelon people. How they form quickly a club, and a club cannot be formed of the people who are at lower level or country. Why? Why do they not come together? And that's where a new research I have initiated with a student of mine called agglomeration. Agglomeration or getting agglomerated is from chemistry, polymer chemistry. Sorry, I was not getting the word. Is from polymer chemistry. In polymer chemistry, there is monomer and polymer. Monomer is existing independently. The moment monomers atomic configuration, it tallies with another monomer, it becomes polymer. A large number of monomers getting together make polymer. And what is that connects? That is a researchable area. And that's a researchable area which is being followed by a Telangana student from Central University Hyderabad with me. That's why countries agglomerate and what is the significant impact of such agglomerations. So that's something very interesting. The interesting thing there is trying to get to, that was the last line, trying to get to the polymer chemistry theory into formation of country groups. And this is something which is my hobby. My hobby in the sense, I had two students from political science. I was talking to Professor Asadi. One student by name Anita, she worked on efficiency of bureaucracy. And she used, Professor of Psychology of Toronto, she used the psychological tests in order to see what is effectiveness, quote unquote. And that's exactly attributing the phenomena of effectiveness to certain actions of a person. Now, what are the actions which can be called as effective bureaucrat? What actions can be called as ineffective bureaucrat? And in psychology, you have tests called MBTI, like LLQs. These are the tests which ask simple questions. Would you go to extinguish the fire first, or you will call the fire brigade first? What will be your action? So 5 actions are given, you have to take one. And like that, there are quite a few questions which test whether you are a leader or you are an administrator, whether you can lead the group. And this test bring out exactly what is the quality of the bureaucrat. We tested this on 35 bureaucrats, IS officers of Karnataka, and found out 3 groups exist. 3 groups exist. One is the group which is extremely efficient bureaucrat. Second, and we masked the names after the schedule was filled in order to analyze. 2 of us analyzed it together. We did not know whose schedule is that. The second ones are the go-getters. They stay in the office, they complete their term, they go to the next office. They do bring some changes. Third one is file pushers. Now file pushers are the pedal pushers. They sit on the cycle and go on pedaling the cycle. We made these 3 groups and then we went to 4 former chief secretaries, gave them the cards of the names and said that, sir, can you group them into 3 groups? Each one of them grouped them into 3 groups. And the coefficient of concordance between their classification and the classification through MBTI was 0.998, which means that the classification was absolutely correct. And then we wrote on what qualities have to be there and where these qualities should be. The final conclusion was that in the IAS selection, there should be a psychological test before they get into the writing the exam, final exam rather. Okay. Now there are quite a few issues which can get into, like in the WTO research, lack of material processing, severe infrastructural bottlenecks, unorganized and weak domestic market base, high interest rates, etc. You can read them faster than I can read them because your eyes are open, ears are closed. So I did not say it. You can read it faster. Last few things. You see, these are the tables. I am going to leave this to here. These are the tables which show in each round what is discussed. I will tell you only the last word. Oh, that's not even the Nairobi round, and the last one. Right. Buenos Aires. The 2017 round is going to discuss the global disciplines for fisheries subsidies and fisheries trade. because there are large number of sanitary and phytosanitary breaches, which are troubling the countries, many countries including India, who are exporting fisheries, fish and fish products. Now this is something which is not in our freshwater fish is one, the seawater fish is one. As far as seawater fish is concerned, the larger export is from the seawater fish, and a large part of it is contaminated not by India but by many other countries, and you cannot make out what is what. Therefore, this is something which is going to be discussed in the next round. Another researchable issue is across different ministerial rounds, various issues were discussed. How much of that has helped the trade to enhance or to increase over years? I will stop here.
And we had a very interesting talk. We also talked about IAS, effectiveness, we talked about trade. Now trade is one area where good researchers have not come out. It's a complex area. WTO is much more complex. I have many of you take up research on different issues related to trade. Regarding IAS, sir, you are very right. Accepting the psychological test, everything is there. Because some of us go in the interview board, and let me tell you very frankly, the kind of IAS officers who are coming now, we are getting B- grade now. Because what happens is that they write, the theoretical papers in theory. They get their mark, then there is Vivos, and Vivos is just of 200 marks. So average, at 50-55%, you can just make it to IAS. But you don't find very brilliant people coming to IAS today. That's the scenario of IAS, and I'm sure that we may have better people
all
coming.
All the plagiarists, they pass IAS. Those who can plagiarize effectively can pass.
And you all can beat IAS officers by your good research. So take a pledge that you will do good work. Your research will be a piece which will be cited, which will be quoted, which is just not copied kind of thing, which is just not putting something here and there. Because I see a number of PhD theses, they don't even change the font. They copy it. They don't even change the font. I think, yes, I think many of us...
You were not there here when I told that we taught them copy.
Yes, but they can take, I think, that kind of teaching which they should be taking up. We teach so many things. Please don't take all of that. You should have your own rules. Now you have to compete with good researchers anywhere in the world. Because today Professor Deshpande was talking of WTO, World Trade. Now it's no more Telangana research, no more OU research, no more Indian research. You have to compete with your counterparts abroad. Where do you stand? You don't have citations, one thing. I am now getting PhD thesis in a number of countries, and you see, I'll show you many of them here. How they write, I think. I give you the case of example of Pretoria University, South Africa. Before they submit, the PhD thesis is collected by somebody who has done his MA English from Oxford, from Cambridge. So I think not only that, we have to write well one thing, we have to research well, we have to structure it well, we have to see what are we saying over there. Is there something which we have done worthwhile during the last 3 years? That's the question. We have taken research scholarship, we have taken 3 years time on that. What did we do there? So I think this should please give a tremendous applause to Professor Deshpande, our guru. And maybe I think...
One of the things of my craziness, I tell you, that I have started a laboratory in economics where I am teaching. There is a laboratory of economics where we have made experiments and the students conduct the experiment.
And friends,
it is not with beaker and puppet.
Sir, I'll sit with you, and as we have developed a test for IAS officers, we have to develop a test even for researchers. Who can be a good researcher? You can't get Tom, Dick and Harry for research. Those who don't marry, they come to research. Those who are aspiring for IAS jobs and they want, they come for research. Those who don't get anything, they come for research. So I just recount my own professor. He didn't talk to me for 3 years, 2.5 years. And then one day he called me and then he told us, now I'll talk with you. I told, why? He said that half of the people who join research, they don't come for the research purpose. They come for some other purpose. Either to get into somewhere, go abroad, marry, or if they have not got anything, they come for research. So if these kind of people, I think they bring disgrace to the research community. And I hope, I think if you are one of them, please become a genuine and a good researcher. Bring a name to the country, bring a name to the community of researchers, and create value in PhD. PhD should not be worse than, people say in our country now, a good MA may be better than a PhD. Because in a good MA, I am sure that you have read much more and you have been evaluated by many more people. If it is a bad PhD, then in that case you can understand what I want to convey to you. So please be a good researcher. I think we'll have another conference for PhD supervisors very soon, because they are also part of the game and they also have to live up to expectations. Thank you very much. We go for a warm cup of tea, and you must return as quickly as you can finish your tea, because you will have a very warm talk, and that should come from an eminent researcher. I should not speak because it doesn't like, these adjectives. That is Professor Sunil Pandit.